Keefe D.
Yes.
My first interview with Keefe D was in 2019. So you and I have done interviews after that, and we've touched on it and so forth. But it was just an interview at that point.
Yeah.
Do you know Keefe at all?
Yes, I do.
How well?
I know him well enough to know where he's from. I did time with him.
Oh, you were locked up with him?
Yeah. I did time with him in 1985, 86 in Tracy Dual Vocational Institution up north in Tracy, California.
Okay, so when you guys were locked up together, how close in the vicinity of each other?
Very close. I mean, we saw each other on the yard like frequently. We spoke, Turtle, rest in peace, from Santana Block was up there, I believe Burdock from Santana. It was like a few Santanas, few Compton Crips up there, and I was cool with a lot of them. So when we would go to the yard, they would be chilling with the Watts guys. I'd holler at my boys from Watts. One of my closest friends was from Watts, so I knew him. But we spoke, but we didn't really get intimate in conversations. He was known to be like a real gang member where he was from, and he hung with the Crips. So I just took him at face value.
Okay. Did you come in contact with him after Pac got killed in 96?
I don't think we ever physically came in contact.
Okay. So you knew him from before then?
Yeah, I knew him from way before then.
Did you watch the interview I did with him?
I watched a few interviews.
Okay. What did you think when you saw these interviews?
I thought that he was grandstanding a little bit when maybe he shouldn't have been. I think he really divulged much too much information about his knowledge of what had taken place during the night that Tupac was murdered. And, it was journalism. It was, getting to the heart of a story, and he seemed willing to tell it at whatever consequence, and that's what befell.
Well, when I did my first interview, I had a copy of his book.
Right.
In my hands.
Right.
The book was already publicly released.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In fact, the interview was designed to promote the book, which from what I understand has sold a lot of copies.
Right.
Probably still is selling copies.
True.
The links are still there.
Yeah.
That's all him.
Yeah.
So I'm usually very careful about interviewing people who potentially have open cases.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Talking about crimes.
Right.
If you already did your time for it, we'll talk all about it.
Right.
There's no double jeopardy in America. You've already served it. It's done.
Right.
Right. If you did something recently, I don't want to know about it.
Facts.
Inside the interview room and outside. I never ask any questions.
Facts.
But in this particular case, although it is an unsolved murder, technically, you wrote a whole book about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a problem doing the interview based on the book.
Right.
Not knowing what exactly, because, a proffer agreement, from what I understand, only applies to what you say that day. If you choose to retell the story, you're not under the umbrella of the proffer agreement. That's what I understand. Mm-hmm. But Keefe felt motivated to talk about it. I did pay him for the interview, and this is going to be a point in this trial, I'm sure.
Got you.
But he did my platform. Then he did like 2 or 3 other interviews, came back, did another interview with me.
Uh-huh.
And then he actually reached out to do a 3rd interview and asked for a deposit this time, which I gave him.
Okay.
But then on July 17th, 2023, his wife's house gets raided in Henderson, Nevada. They search the house, don't really find anything. But then on September 29th, he gets arrested in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard about the raid and then heard about the arrest, what did you think?
I said, they got something on him. I mean, you know, they must finna tie the story in and you know, make him answer to all the stuff he been talking about. So it wasn't totally astounding to me, you know what I mean?
Well, there was a whole grand jury process.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I got to read about it, you know, after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people there. I think Reggie Wright, I think, was involved in the grand jury, and Kei D, I believe, was involved in the grand jury and so forth. A guy named Dirt Rock, he was involved. Dirt Rock said that Big Dre was the shooter, not Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And Orlando took the credit for it because he should have been the one to do it in terms of the rules of engagement. He's the one that got, you know, jumped and kicked and whatever else. So he's the one that should have handled it. And Dre was okay with letting Orlando, you know, be the fall guy because he didn't want to take credit for Tupac. He didn't want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's one of the things that came up with the grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see something like that being true?
Sure.
They're both dead, by the way. So we're not talking about.
Sure. No, I said sure.
Yeah.
No, I know we're not talking about.
We're not talking about people. We're not trying to put, pin things on people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you trying to get him? Just,
No, they're both dead. It doesn't matter.
Real talk. No, I can definitely see something like that happen. I mean, because, that just stands to reason. You know, I'm not going to fight your battles for you. So if I'm damn sure not going to kill nobody for you when you right here to kill them your damn self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So handle your business. And if it's taking you too long and the opportunity might slip away, then, you know, fuck it, man. You already got me out here. I'll do it. But then, you know.
You already got me out here.
Yeah, I got one up on you. You know what I mean?
I talked to one of the witnesses who was there in the car behind Pac when the shooting happened, and he's always told me that he saw a big arm reach out the window with that gun. It wasn't a skinny arm, which was what Orlando's arm would have looked like.
Right.
Orlando was skinny. He had a similar build to Pac. Mm-hmm. He said it was a big arm. Right. I brought that to Greg Keefe. He said, well, he may think that, but it's hard to say in a situation like this. There's so much chaos that, you know, nighttime, you don't necessarily remember it exactly the way you may think you remembered it.
Jeff, you've been involved in some of them battles, though. You know what I mean? Details kind of like flash in your mind about certain shit.
So you're saying that
you don't
if
forget.
he said it's a big arm, it was probably a big arm.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying when you're in battle and you're used to engagement with firearms and stuff like that, it's like you remember, you can remember certain details that take place that like flash in your mind that just embed themselves in your memory. You know, so it can be some smaller shit like, you know, a tattoo on somebody's arm or something. You be like, yeah, he had a skull right here. You know what I mean? And it just registers because in that moment of time, it kind of like slows down for some people.
Well, Suge Knight said Orlando wasn't the shooter on his podcast.
Dope.
But, you know, Suge also causes a lot of chaos. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt.
I met Orlando too, you know.
You met Orlando?
I met Orlando.
Before 96 or after 96?
Before.
Okay, like about what year?
Like maybe 95.
95?
94 could have been.
Okay. This was before Suge. So this is before Pac joined Death Row.
I believe it could have been.
Okay. And
or maybe it could have been after. I'm definitely not sure because when you brought that up, I kind of remember thinking how he looked like Tupac.
Yeah, he kind of did.
So I'm not actually sure if I knew, because I knew about Tupac before he joined Death Row.
Of course, we all did.
So I'm not really sure how that timeline went.
I see what you're saying.
But I met him. He was, he was a real. He was a real solid, sharp young dude about his gangster hand, you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I interviewed the Compton cops, from the gang unit, and they all said that, he was being investigated for 2 different murders.
Right.
Before before the Tupac incident.
Right.
So nobody ever said that this guy was a wannabe or anything of that sort.
That's what he wasn't. Yeah.
The story, him being the shooter, made sense on a lot of different levels.
Yeah. So a lot of people ran with it.
A lot of people ran with it.
Right.
And he never denied it. Well, no, he did deny it in an interview, but of course he would deny it publicly. But
yeah.
sure,
Whether you're guilty or not, you're going to deny it.
Exactly.
Right.